Hello, I'm Yunjie Chen. Now we're going to talk about a very famous Chopin Etude Op number 5, the Black Key. Before I talk about various technical aspects and the left hand and everything, I want to talk about 3 issues. One is the issue of how to approach the black keys. We think this etude is difficult. It is, not because it is all played on black keys. As a matter of fact, it's the opposite. It is not as difficult as all white keys because the black key is much shallower. As you can see from here, the bottom of the black key is significantly shallower than the white keys. And we all know a very well-known and useful way of practicing this, recommended by Coton, is we practice everything 1 note higher on all white keys, which will be in G major. That means play on white keys is harder. Therefore, it can help to for playing on the black keys. Now, then what is difficult about black key? I believe it's the accuracy, because we can see the black keys are much narrower. So there's a lot more chance to hit on the wrong notes. And that's one. Number 2 is the coordination between left hand and right. I think that's also very important. I would recommend that we practice at all time in 3 rather than in 2 or in 6 or in not very obvious rhythm. Now, why is it important? Because, when you actually perform it, no matter what you want to do, it has to be in accordance with the left hand. If you do something for the right hand, which is good, which is great, but the left hand cannot find the proper space to go in, then it's useless. You cannot make it happen. That's issue number 2. Number 3, this is essentially, people say this is the most French Chopin there is in all his repertoire, because it's very light, it has a great sense of freedom, leisure, but the dynamic contrast, however, is still very important. It has a very clear sense of structure, this etude. If we ignore that and just go for the lightness, the whole piece would lose the center. Now, we're going to talk about a little bit of each section. In the beginning, of course, they start with forte. Now, in the triplets, what we always tend to miss is the last note. So when we play fast, our ear actually needs to look for the third note, not to let it disappear into thin air. For instance, here, at least in the first bar, I would actually listen for. So when you play fast, it will be very even. The left hand, we do have to single out the melody, but it shouldn't be just one note. It's actually the third. Both of them need to be very clear. Now, here, the soft part has to be really, really light, and in a big contrast with the loud part. And very shallow, very leggero. You play the keyboard in a very tender way. The bar number 1 is really brilliant. Every note of it, all 12 notes of it, need to be very bright. And the second bar is very light. Now there's this crescendo. The left hand, actually the accent is the second beat of bar number 4. And also a little bit of the same situation with bar number 3. It has a sense of humor, leggero, playful, which is very important. So we shouldn't put the accent on the downbeat. That would not be correct. Now let's go to the middle section. Middle section is drastically different than section A and C. The reason being that here the left hand is absolutely the dominating factor. Before, I think they're sort of 50-50, 46%. But here, the left hand definitely owns at least 85% of the importance and the range. The left hand can never be more. And let me tell you, after listening to Black Keys, students playing, I think, 95 out of 100 times, the audience, the juries, the teacher's reaction, the comment would always be, there's not enough left hand. You can go see. That's how everybody feels. So there can never be too much left hand. And the left hand needs to be beautiful sound, good phrase, color change, has very good breathe, and has everything. And the right hand is simply just following the left hand. And here is a very big crescendo. And the left hand chromatic scale up is very important. At the same time, the right hand is very light and bright. It balances the dense sound of the left hand. That's bar number 33. 37. Although it's not written on the score, but I dare to do that. What I always do every time is the first time is quite big, second time is very light. I believe if 2 times we all do it very loud, it will be really too much. And also the section after that is one of the most beautiful moments in this etude, and it's very light and it's very tender. If bar 37 was still doing it very loud, it's difficult to transit into that section. And here, of course, the left hand is really important. And there are 3 times of F. Now, we're going to talk about it here. There are 2 things that we must do. One is the thumb. That's a beautiful melody. 2 is a contrast. The first time is more. Second time is much less. Now we're going to go to the very ending. The octaves. The octaves, I don't think it's particularly difficult. But I think being loud is not as important or effective as being fast. The best thing we can do for this very last part of this etude is to make the octaves as fast as the single notes. That would be really effective. So I wouldn't go for the volume. I would go for the speed and accuracy. There's a little trick that we can use when we want to try to make it as fast, which is very difficult, of course, is that we would pay attention to the first note in each group rather than every one of them. And it has a very natural flow of motion towards the left side. And I would sometimes even lean my left shoulder a little bit down a little bit. So I would direct the energy towards that direction. And last thing I would say is that even in a moment of triumph like this, I would still reserve a lot of energy and percussiveness not to use it, because I think all in all, as a very famous pianist once told me, which I agree very much, every etude is in the style of its composer, not in the style of an etude. So a Chopin etude is actually a Chopin piece. It's a character piece. It would never do if it is presented in a Liszt style, vice versa, of course. So in the very ending, it's still very exciting, but beautiful sound, good balance, and still not breaking this atmosphere of leisure, lightness, elegance. Thank you. That was Black Key.